Welcome back to all our community. Today, a very special program with my dear friend Andrew Chen. Welcome to your program.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
I am excited. I'm excited to be out here. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So let's put a little context. Andrew Chen is an operator from Blue Tea Studio.
Correct.
In Mexico City, originally from LA. And you have like 3 years here?
Yeah, it's coming up on 3 years.
And well, welcome, first of all. And second of all, tell us something about the Bloom Tea Studio. How did you came up with this idea? What is the name about?
Sure. Bloom Tea Studio is a reflection of my own journey. It's a journey of going through the seasons of life. You know, I oftentimes think of life as many seasons. There's summer, where everything is going great, everything is in full stride. And after summer, fall, where things start to get a little shaky. And winter, where you go into introspection. It's not necessarily a bad place. I think oftentimes people think that winter is cold and it's not great, but it's also the time for the deep growth, right? Like where are my roots planted such that I can really, when spring comes, bloom. And that's the story of Bloom.
Wow, I love it. And it's do you think that when you were talking about summer, it was maybe childhood or doesn't necessarily?
No, I think that we always go through seasons of life, right? It could happen, a season could be in 1 month, or it could be in 1 day, or it could be in a year or over, many years.
Okay.
It's just where we are in life, right? Because sometimes life isn't always that easy, and it's about finding the strength in those moments such that when summer comes, you're in a good place.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting because we have to accept that we are vulnerable, and we are passing through a very difficult times sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Right?
It's part of life.
Yeah, and I want you to share with us this marvelous and fascinating work that you had like years before, that you were teaching men to proper date women. How was that? It's like, it's crazy. Tell us about it.
Sure. I went to a all-boys military school for my high school life. And when I got into college, I started to realize that if I never knew how to talk to women, I was probably going to die alone.
I was in the same exact position. Yeah. So I hear you, man.
Yeah. So I decided that it was time for me to make a change. And part of that was challenging the belief structures that I had. For the majority of my younger life, I was taught, to be a certain way because I've only interacted with men, or boys in that case. So learning how to present myself, learning how to calibrate myself became something that I deeply focused on. Through it, I was offered a job while I was in college that I just couldn't refuse. And that was to
The Godfather offered you.
Exactly. But a man named JT Tran had started a company that specialized in teaching Asian men how to be social. Growing up as an Asian culture, we were taught heavily that, study well, get a good job, and then life will follow. But it's not true, right? Like on your journey of studying and getting a good job and working really hard, you have to learn how to be social, right? And he cracked the code for it. And because of it, I had the benefit of learning from him and getting a job with him to travel around the world and support other men who are going through a similar conversation that I was.
And how was the experience? I mean, the results of the people who you taught about this dating and these communication skills, were they improving?
I think it's hard to measure whether or not a person is improving, because at the end of the day, I can give you all the tools in the world. It's up to you whether or not you use it, as with anything in life, right?
Yeah.
But what I can say is I've officiated weddings. I've officiated wedding vow renewals, and I've emceed weddings, a lot of which are students that I've had.
So the results are great. Well, for some of them.
Yeah, for some of them.
And for those who took action, right?
Absolutely. For those who are willing to challenge their own belief systems,
Yeah.
you know, like to break out of their shell, you know, to know that they've always had the power, they've just never accessed it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very interesting. And out of camera, we were talking about workplace, looking as a dojo. I
Sure.
want to develop this idea because I think it's marvelous.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I think it's important to set the context first, right?
Yeah.
I operate from a place of how I do one thing is how I do everything,
Right.
right? So if I come from that place and that context, then everything that's happening in my life becomes a mirror of where I can grow, right? And how I've connected it into Bloom is, you know, it's interesting. Bloom, I've interviewed 140 people.
Okay.
We've hired 7.
Oh my God.
Out of 140 people.
Wow.
And what qualities I look for are
5%.
people. Yeah, exactly. Qualities of people who are willing to challenge their own belief systems. I believe it's the foundation of any thriving team.
Yeah.
People who are hungry and continuously want to grow, right? So, and I tell them, you know, like, hey, if you're here just for a paycheck, don't work here. The job is hard. It's very challenging, and you probably get paid the same doing less work somewhere else. You know, like, not that we pay bad or anything, but like, it's just hard work.
Yeah.
And then I tell them the follow-up, which is, if you want to utilize this job as a trampoline, as a catapult, as a vehicle to support you in every other aspect of your life, this is the place to work. Because everyone that I say yes to, that my managers, that our team says yes to, we invest deeply as humans. Not just the work, because the work is the work and it's easy. With time, anyone can learn it. Right?
Yeah.
We're making drinks. It can't be that hard.
Yeah. And they're delicious because he brought us some. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But really, at the end of the day, it's like, do you have what it takes to want to be better? And I believe everyone has it. It's just someone behind them fanning the fan, you know, like fanning the flames, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it. Like, you know, everything.
Oh, yeah,
you want
the
is there.
support, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the right environment.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that at the end of the day, you make this exercise I found fascinating. Can you share with the audience?
So life happens every day,
Yeah.
right? How am I in relationship with what's happening? Most people go through, at least from my experience, most people go through, myself included, life SSDD. And I don't know if I can say this,
Yes,
but
you can do
same shit, different day, right? It's autopilot. I'm used to, you know, going through life, doing what I'm doing, and it's
Autopilot, yes.
on autopilot, going repeat. So how do we break this autopilot? We break this autopilot by connecting deeply with what's true for us in that moment,
Yeah.
and being in practice of. So every night at the end of every shift, I gather the team and I ask them the question, what's true for you in this moment and what's alive in you? So we begin to practice being in touch with what's going on the inside. And most importantly, expressing it with the intention of someone else getting it.
Yeah.
By doing so, we have a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, by hearing and trying to understand another human being, then you can connect with that emotion and with that feeling, right?
Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, what's happening in the individual is 9 times out of 10 happening in the collective, right? We're all the same, going through a different event, but having the same feelings or the same labels to those feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. And I think that this idea of the workplace looking as a dojo
Absolutely.
for practice, whatever you want to practice in life,
Yeah.
because it's different. But in work, if you have a safe and a proper environment, you can practice and you can, well, manage better in life, right?
Yeah. I think off camera, you brought up a very key point, which is a lot of the society tells us keep your or your home problems at home and your work problems here and separate it. But as humans, it's practically impossible.
Yes.
Right? Like, our attention goes where we focus. So if there's a problem at home that I'm consistently thinking about, that same problem is going to manifest in some way at the workplace. So by resolving and working through those problems in the workspace, I now can go home better equipped to handle the problem that is at home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to ask you, how has been your experience working with Mexicans? Not because you're originally, I mean, Asian,
Yeah.
born in LA, and you
Grew up in Taiwan.
grew up in Taiwan, and you don't speak like very fluent English, Spanish.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it, right? But
I can laugh.
You're working on it.
Absolutely. I can laugh at the right times. Working here in Mexico rather, has been a challenge.
Yes.
I believe one of my biggest assets before coming to Mexico was my ability to communicate. And being here has created an environment for me to really grow different aspects of myself. Being able to articulate what my thoughts was no longer in my tool belt. So I had to figure out how to carry myself in such a way that would show people what I was doing, who I was about, right? Enroll people authentically through my ways of being rather than just my words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that has been a very successful way because, well, I don't know if you know, but the Bloom Tea Studio is in Polanco and they have 2 or 3 hours line to get one of these delicious beverage, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Grateful. At the end of the day, like I may be the person who is operating or had the idea for it, but there's no way that I could have accomplished this without my team, without the people that are, like putting their hearts and souls in it.
Yeah. And your parents, what do they tell you? Have they ever come here?
Yeah, they have. They love Mexico. And also there's parts of it that they're like, oh, this is kind of like Taiwan in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And what do you think that is like the most satisfying things to work with Mexicans? And the worst? Less like, or not the worst, but the complex things about maybe the law, maybe the permissions,
Sure.
maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I think the law, the permissions, and all that just comes with time, right? Like it's a new environment that I have to learn how to operate in, a new system, a new way of thinking that I need to learn. I'm always about the people, right? Like working with the team that I have, one of the most gratifying things is seeing like the switch, the perspective switch from I don't think I can do this to I was born to do this or absolutely it's within my power. Just that simple switch, it's like the whole atmosphere of the room changes.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that I as a human can be a part of, Not the person doing the work, but simply the person who's standing shoulder to shoulder next to someone while they do the work on themselves to grow. And on the flip side of that, the most challenging thing working here in Mexico is also the deeply seated, or at least from my perspective, the deeply seated fear-based mentality.
Oh, wow. That's a good thing to know and to hear.
Yeah.
Tell us something about it.
I don't think this is the case for everyone. However, I also do see that a lot of business operators here in Mexico have been in the culture of not fostering growth within their employees. Why? Because they were not in that culture as they were growing up.
Yeah.
So part of my vision here in Mexico is the next generation is my responsibility.
Yeah, also you have that Olympic flame.
I have an Olympic torch, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the things that we do at the end of the night is, like as people are growing, like I tap in my arm, like I'm passing the flame, I'm passing the torch, I'm passing the torch. And really,
I think that is an unbelievable ritual.
yeah,
And probably they will pass this ritual to another, right?
absolutely. And that's the intention, right? It's like, what use is it if I'm the one who's passing the torch, right? Like, do I want to be the torchbearer or do I want to continuously create other torchbearers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So tell me something that I really was shocked about it. That you told me that you really enjoy to be in the traffic jam.
I think
How is that? It's like, what?
I think I might be one of the few crazy ones.
Yeah. You could be an Uber Black.
Yeah, for sure. I think driving here in Mexico is my personal dojo.
I think that's marvelous. Tell us about it.
Yeah, from my perspective, the culture here in Mexico is heavily rooted in winning, which is great, which is phenomenal. Why? Because
Everybody wants to win.
Everyone wants to win, right? There's two sides of that, right? They want to win by being in front of you and, like winning the race, if you will.
Being bullied.
Exactly. And also, they want to win in being polite. So as I'm driving, like I'll stick my hand out the window, I'll wave at people, I'll say thank you. Sometimes I'll drive with my knees and just like flash a heart out the window. But it's like, who am I choosing to be in this world at the end of the day, right? Like every moment where I'm driving, where I have every reason to be angry is an opportunity for me to practice compassion, practice what I stand for in this world.
Yeah. And I think that's very interesting because at the end, this has to do with leadership. Mm-hmm. Because normally in the 70s, 80s, the la vieja guardia, no, the old people would say you just have to focus on your work. Mm-hmm. But at the end, we are the work, but we are the emotions, we are the relationships, we
Absolutely.
are integrity. We are human beings, and as a being, we have a lot of corners and a lot of ways to express. Yeah. And everything impacts you, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think about it?
I think life is just an experience. Like if I look at life as like an experience, how I choose to respond or react to it is my choice, right? Am I on autopilot and reacting to the events that are happening? Or am I choosing to say, oh, it's a choice point on how I can react? Yeah, or respond rather.
Yeah, and that could change your life.
Outcome. Right?
The outcome, of course.
Outcome.
And your life.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Andrew, for being here. This is our first segment.
Okay.
And where can we find you? You can tell us.
You can find us on Instagram at bloomteastudio.com.
Yeah.
Or Bloom Tea Studio, rather.
And you have to taste it. It's delicious. You have to be patient because there's a lot of wine.
I've put my heart and soul into it, and the team has put their heart and soul into it, and I think it shows.
Yeah, I think so. So we're going to have a second segment where we're going to talk about this guy, how he quit college to become a real entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
So thank you very much and see you again.
Thank you.